In this video, we'll look at what the withdrawal symptoms of nofap are. Nofap withdrawals are not to be taken lightly if success is to be achieved in nofap. But before we get into what those withdrawal symptoms are, you need to know why withdrawals happen every time you go on nofap. The human brain doesn't like change. The brain is programmed to resist change so that you will be able to stick with your core beliefs, your core ideas, and the values that makes you, well, you. So whenever a change signal is sent to your brain, a change signal like wanting to stop watching porn, the motivation circuits of your brain are initially switched on. This is the initial days of nofap where you get all excited to conquer the world. After all, something new promises excitement in the form of dopamine. But what happens after a few days is that the fear circuits in the brain, primarily the amygdala, also gets switched on. This is a mechanism built in to protect us from harm in the form of sudden change. So, regardless of how necessary it is for you to change your porn habit, the fear circuits get into high gear anyway. Think of it as a battlefield where you're fighting a villain called your brain. In this scenario, your brain is the bad guy and it has at its disposal all the other parts of your body to use against you. All in an attempt to get you to reverse your commitment to change, your brain starts by giving you some mental discouragement. If that doesn't work, if you're still motivated to stay on nofap, a small burst of dopamine is secreted when the thought of the old habit crosses your mind. And since you're programmed to seek more dopamine, a huge craving cycle is triggered. If the cravings still don't get the job done, other withdrawal symptoms like headaches, nauseation, fever, serious mood fluctuations, and other hosts of symptoms are triggered as well. So basically, your brain uses withdrawal symptoms to resist change. Now that you know why withdrawals occur, let's look at what these withdrawals are and how to deal with them when they occur. 1. Cravings. This is the creme de la creme of nofap withdrawal symptoms. And this withdrawal symptom is the single reason why 90% of porn addicts relapse. Cravings is the seductive pull or urge to watch porn. Initially, a craving starts with a stimulus. Scientists refer to this stimulus as a trigger. A trigger can be internally generated, for instance, porn thoughts or porn images you recall from memory. Triggers can also be externally generated, like seeing erotic images or a sexy girl walking down your street. Dr. Childress, a professor in the Department of Psychiatry at the University of Pennsylvania, found through PET scans that porn triggers cause the brain of the porn addict to release a small burst of dopamine similar to actually watching porn. What this means is that those porn thoughts you have will spike dopamine in your brain, causing strong cravings since your brain is wired to seek more dopamine. Cravings are fundamental to compulsive addictions. You can't outrun them, and there is no solution to cravings than to be aware of their short lifespan. Because, in Dr. Childress' words, what many do not realize is that cravings are false messages from the brain that have been conditioned and reinforced over the years. One thing to be conscious of about cravings is that they will come at some point whether you try to stop them or not. The more you try to resist or suppress them, the more reinforced they become. 2. Nofap flatline. The flatline is when you experience very low libido and your John can't get up for $50,000. The flatline is the most common signal from the brain that nofap is working for you. You wake up in the morning, no erection. You see a sexy girl in real life, no erection again. Apart from the low libido that comes with the nofap flatline, you will observe that you are also bored, fatigued, and nothing really excites you. The flatline usually starts after 5 to 7 days of nofap. Most people who don't know that the flatline is a normal withdrawal symptom of nofap get scared into relapsing. People relapse just to test if their penis is still working. In fact, I hold my first relapse to the flatline. You might be wondering why the flatline occurs. Well, after all those years of programming your brain to get an erection from online porn, you can't suddenly stop watching porn and expect to wake up to an early morning boner after some time. But the flatline doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. I like the flatline. As a matter of fact, I love the flatline. It gives the mind and body a kind of peace. I found that the flatline helps my whole nofap process. It allows the concentration of the mind on something more productive. So instead of fighting the flatline by trying to get a hard-on, I just ride it out like a wave. So how long does the nofap flatline last for? It varies from individual to individual, but based on the experiences of many people on nofap, it usually subsides around day 45 of nofap. But again, I've seen people that still experience flatline 4 months into their nofap. Just know that it's part of the process of your body healing itself. But if you're the type that your flatline is taking more than 3 weeks, and maybe you're in a relationship and you want to speed up the whole flatline process, you can start doing physically intense exercises constantly. Also, exercises like weightlifting, playing a team sport like football or basketball have been shown by studies to boost testosterone levels. An elevated testosterone level increases libido and sexual interest. But if you want to boost your testosterone levels to a much higher level so that you can have more energy to support your exercise efforts, effortlessly build lean muscles, and supercharge your sexual drive, you can try this all-natural product which has greatly helped me in the past. You can find the link in the description below. Another way to speed up the flatline process is to hang out with other people more. This will take your mind off the whole "my dick is not working" thing, and while you're out, maybe you realize that sex isn't all there is to life. 3. Mood swings. Forming a porn and masturbation addiction came about as a way of coping with some underlying emotions. So, when you go on nofap, you remove porn and masturbation from the equation. Those emotions that have been suppressed for so long start bubbling to the surface. It's common for people on nofap to experience strong emotional feelings about a trivial matter. A little issue might cause a lot of anger. The sight of a dog might cause tears trickling down the face. Recalling a memory might bring a lot of unexpected happiness. These highs and lows will leave you in a mood roller coaster. The first step to dealing with this emotional roller coaster is to identify these underlying emotions you are using porn to cope with and address them. Being mindful of one's emotions is a skill that's cultivated with time. Mindfulness meditation and deep breathing are tools that can be used to get proficient at it. The aim is to identify the emotions, acknowledge them, and if there's something that can be done on your part to make it better, do it without adjournment. If it's something that's out of your control, as most emotions are, accept that which you can't control and let it go. With time and practice, the ability to be in touch with your emotions will start breeding inner peace, and your emotions on nofap will start regulating. 4. Feeling tensed. This withdrawal symptom stems from masturbation and orgasm addiction. After some days on nofap, there is a tendency to start feeling like there is a ticking time bomb inside of you that might go off any second. You start feeling so tense as the sexual energy starts building up and you feel like you're about to implode. You feel like you desperately need the release. You start feeling the need to let it out like you constantly do in the past. You think to yourself, something might happen. It's been 2 weeks. I might develop prostate cancer. All these tensed up feelings are just your brain adjusting itself to the new reality. But some people fall victim to a relapse at this stage when that need to release floods their brain. But if you're wise, this is the perfect opportunity to channel this energy and tension into other activities in your life. The activity that works best for this process is to engage in a form of high intensity exercise. Other options to relieve tension when you're nofap can include taking a walk outside, going for a run, or you can start doing some house chores you've been putting off. The goal here is to involve in a form of physical activity whenever this withdrawal symptom shows up. 5. Boredom. When the brain has been trained to only get dopamine from porn, other activities won't give that level of dopamine to the brain. When you've watched porn for a very long time, that continuous act has been flooding your brain with unnatural dopamine. Due to this, the D2 receptors in your brain has been reduced. In the first 2 months of nofap, if there isn't a change in routine, there is a high tendency to be feeling bored most of the time. Until the D2 receptors in your brain are recalibrated, being bored might be a very common thing that occurs from time to time. During nofap, you might be amidst a crowd or engaging in other activities that are supposed to be fun, but since it isn't porn, your brain wouldn't register those activities as fun. This is why it's very important to incorporate some D2 receptor building activities into your day while you're doing nofap. Some D2 receptor building activities you can do can include reading a book, learning or playing a musical instrument, listening to music, meditating, cooking or learning to cook a new recipe, learning a new language, going out and socializing more. 6. Depression. This does not happen to everybody while they are on nofap, but when it does happen, it starts around day 30 and it can last for another month. Again, this is due to the reason why the addiction started in the first place. Those emotions that you've bottled up with porn have started coming up to the surface, and they might be leading to a form of sadness. The best way to deal with nofap depression is to face those feelings head on and try to engage in mood-lifting activities like watching your favorite comedy show or hanging out with people that lift you mentally. 7. Headaches and fever. Cases of headaches and fever have been reported by some people on nofap. This isn't a very common occurrence and it rarely happens. These types of headaches are called withdrawal headaches. The cycle of these headaches are usually short, but they can last for days in some cases. You need to be able to recognize this type of headache when they occur because they can be easily mistaken for migraines. The best action to take when experiencing this type of withdrawal is to see a physician to help you rule out any other form of disease that might be hiding under the hood. 8. Nofap insomnia. Insomnia is a sleep disorder where you have trouble falling asleep and staying asleep. It can be a medical condition on its own, but it's also a common nofap withdrawal symptom that a lot of people experience. People that experience this the most are those that used to masturbate to porn right before they go to sleep. So when they go on nofap and they stop PMOing, they find it difficult falling and staying asleep. Nofap insomnia usually starts around the 2nd to the 7th day mark of nofap. But once your body adjusts to nofap, you find it easier and easier to fall and stay asleep. If you're experiencing insomnia as a nofap withdrawal, you can try the following things to cure the withdrawal symptom as soon as possible. 1. Go to bed early and make your bedtime consistent. 2. Cut off caffeine from your diet. And if you must consume caffeinated products, don't drink it after 2 p.m. in the day. 3. Stop using any electronic device 1 hour to your bedtime. 4. Do breathing exercises when you get to bed. This calms your nerves and hibernates your brain. A popular breathing technique to quickly fall asleep is the 4-7-8 technique. You breathe in for 4 seconds, hold the breath for 7 seconds, and breathe out for 8 seconds. 9. Brain fog. I know what you're thinking. Isn't brain fog supposed to reduce on nofap? Normally, it should, but some people experience more brain fog as a withdrawal symptom in the first month of their nofap. Brain fog on nofap is when you have a muddled up mind where you can't seem to think straight. But with time on nofap, the brain fog will start lifting. But if you find it difficult to focus and concentrate when you're nofap, here are things that can be done to improve the clarity of your mind. 1. Focus on one task at a time. 2. Stop other habits that shrinks your prefrontal cortex. Habits like excessive video gaming, consuming too much sugar, and so on. 3. Reduce the distractions in your environment to the barest minimum. On a final note on nofap withdrawal symptoms, whenever you get any of the symptoms mentioned in this video, celebrate, pop a champagne. Why? Because nofap is working for you. Your body is detoxing and your brain is dumping the porn pathways. If you made it to the end of this video, I appreciate you. Please like the video and consider subscribing to my channel for more informative and insightful nofap videos like this.